So welcome back. So in our Selenium with Java series, we have already seen how you can set up Java in Windows or Mac operating system, and then how you will download the IntelliJ IDE, which is required to what you call execute to write and run the your Selenium script. Okay, so we have seen a sample script actually, but we did not go into much details into that. But then I thought that we will make a series of the Selenium Java where we will be starting from like a beginner, and then we will go as an advanced Selenium usages. Okay, so for this actually the next topic which we are going to see is the understanding the HTML DOM and Selenium locator strategies. Okay, see, to automate the browser actions, whether it is click event or whether you are entering a text or you're fetching a text, you need to identify the elements, right? How does Selenium understand that what action you need to perform on which element actually? So for that, we need to understand how Selenium basically identifies the element and what and all the features Selenium is providing to identify those elements. So first thing is that how Selenium identifying the objects. Okay, so the answer is HTML. Now HTML is a markup language. We already know as a techie persons, like all of the browser elements whatever you are seeing, that basically is in open what do you call it, as a front end, it always the application always renders as a HTML DOM actually. For an example, a quick example I will take, and we know already how an HTML looks like, but then I will quickly go over this one. Now let me copy this one and I will create a new file. So let me open my Sublime text. Okay, and here I will paste this one and I will save this one as a HTML. Maybe I will just say that simple.html and I will put it into the desktop. Okay, now let me just open that simple.html. Okay, now as you can see, this something looks like this actually, an HTML where you can see here like there is a title, that is page title. Okay, and then as you can see here, the h1 is the header part, and header is basically, you can see this is heading, and you can see here as well. Let me do one thing. Let me make this background color as probably I will do like this, and then refresh this one. Okay, now we can see this one properly. So as you can see, this is basically the h1 tag, and this is the paragraph actually. Like what I can do, I can open this one into a Chrome browser so that we can see properly. Okay, so let me go to the Chrome browser. Okay, here, and let me put these two side by side. Okay, so as you can see, this is a h1 tag. Let me show you now how do I see an HTML DOM of a particular application. Simply you have to go to the right click and then click on inspect, and you will see this one. Okay, and you can see a complete HTML structure which we have done this. This is a static, but then any of the real-time application also will render like this. Okay, you can see the title is page title. Here you can see that is reflecting, and this is my h1 tag, this is my p tag. Now HTML contains lot of tags actually, so depending on what kind of control it is there, whether it is a simple text or a button or a text box or a checkbox where you can check it, radio buttons to choose one of the option, drop downs where you can have multiple options and you have to choose a particular option from there. So each of these different types of elements, HTML has its own way of representing that, we can say signature of that particular element. Okay, so the HTML root, it starts with a HTML tag. Always it what you call surrounds with a less than and greater than symbol. There is a head tag. Head is basically where you will see all this browser title and all those things, and each tag always ends with a closing tag. Okay, and then we have the body where exactly the contains the content actually stays there. Okay, so h1 is a tag actually, you can see beginning tag and ending tag, and this is the actual text or content actually inside this. The same thing, p represents the paragraph. You can see there is a paragraph, and you can even change the color or the size or like there are so many different things, like if you want to put it into the middle, or you want to make it as a left align or right align, those things you can do by using these styles. And these styles we can use even by using the css. So css is not that required actually for the selenium testing, but yes, we have to understand the css as well, so that we can test. For an example, let's say that you have an application whose background should be brown, or which background should be particularly like this hash triple e, it should be. Now how do you come to know that it is like that? And I can do even so in the chrome also browser, you can see that, you can see there is a right pan, it is coming whenever you go to the inspect. Here it is a add button, you add it, and then I can show you that there is a h1 tag is there, right? Now I can do like this. Oops, let me do one thing. Click on plus and then h1, and here I can make the font size is bit bigger actually. Like for an instance, I can say, you can see it is changing. Maybe I will put something bigger, you can see it is changing. Or even I can make it something, I can even change the color as well. So I will put it as color, and then I will put like this, and maybe I will say something like this, you can do. Even I can put as red, okay, so that it will be red. Now these things are very essential as well while you are going to test anything, because there might be a requirement you might get where your application headings should be in red color. So selenium has a few of the methods available where you can fetch the color of a particular element as well. So that is why css is a bit required. So as we go different topics, we will understand, we will come to know how we can test the css attributes as well. Okay, fine. Now the HTML is not just limited to this tag names only, even it has different attributes as well. Like for an instance, let's say that I have two h1 tags. Let me do one thing. So I will put another h1 tag, and I will say that this is heading 2, and let me save it. And if I refresh this, you can see I'm getting two different h1 tags. Okay, now the thing is that how do I identify individually this particular element? Actually h1 itself is an element, on top of that we have this particular text. Now when I mean there are situations where your application can have multiple what do you call tags, actually similar tags multiple times. That time it is difficult to identify uniquely actually. How do, like when I say can you get the h1 content, now you might ask, oh okay, there are two h1 tags, do I really need to go with the first one, or do I need to fetch the second one? Now that's where selenium also faces the conflict. Now to resolve that, each tag can have some attributes actually. Now these attributes basically determines uniquely that particular browser element. We will even see there are a lot of tags, it's not only limited to h1p body or html. There are a lot of attributes are there, attributes or the tags are there. Now we will discuss that one by one. Now let's go with a demo application. So this is one of the demo application which I created. It's basically a static, but it contains almost all of the what you call elements that are present, that are popularly present in any of the browser application you take for an instance. Okay, now as you can see, I have actually few text boxes are there. So these are basically the text which you can fetch and compare with your existing. Now these are, there are some what do you call, like your text boxes are there. Now these text boxes, what you can do, you can enter some value, right? This is a button actually where you can click, and then whatever the button click event is written, backend or your developer has written, it will perform that action. So normally what we do, like each browser element we can fetch the value, we can perform certain action, and then we will verify whether whatever the action we have performed, is it really happening or not, based on the response. Now for an instance, if I am adding something here, typing, now typing is my action, but what is the response I'm getting? That the text whatever I typed is basically displaying here. Now this action and response you are comparing actually, and then you are validating by using Selenium. Okay, now as you can see here, I have actually three different what do you call text boxes are there. If I inspect this one, you will see the tags are basically input actually. Now you can see this is also input. Okay, you can see this is a email input, this is a username input. Now these are the attributes actually. Now attributes can be class, can be your ID, can be your name, which uniquely identifies in between multiple input tags actually. Okay, but in this case it was very difficult, right, to identify because there were no attributes. But in real time you will be having certain attributes which makes your what do you call the element unique, and then you can specify or you can tell Selenium to enter the text to this specified element only. Okay, so that's how Selenium identifies. So there are two things that we need. One is your input, I mean the tag actually, and then the attribute. So combination of this tag and attribute value will make your identification unique actually. Okay, now there are different ways actually. Like we have input tag actually, which determines, and how do I know actually? Like if you see, even this is also input. Let me show you that. You can see now, how does the HTML distinguishes between a text box and a button actually? So that is basically your type actually. If I'm making this type as button, now this will behave as button. If I'm making this as like if I go to this one, and here the type would be text actually, even though the what do you call the tags are same for button and text box, but this type basically uniquely identifies whether it is a button which can be only clickable, this text box which you can enter the element actually or enter some value inside that. The same thing if you see radio buttons, these are also kind of a input tag only, you can see, but the type is radio. It means that you can only click any one of these. Checkboxes are also input, I can show you that, but the type is a checkbox. So that's how you will uniquely identify what type of element, and then the tag is determining what kind of action you can perform. Okay, like I cannot enter a value inside this radio button, right? So that's how the HTML takes care of those things, what kind of element, what kind of action you can perform. Okay, so now as we understood a bit about the HTML, the CSS, and some front end stuff actually, how we can identify the elements. Now the Selenium basically takes all this what you call stuff, and then they are providing you different ways to identify these elements. Now let's go to the second part of this session where the methods, I mean the Selenium locator strategies. What are the different types of locators Selenium is providing and how we can use it? So for this definitely I will be going to the IntelliJ. I'll create a new project and we will see each one of the locator strategy of Selenium. Okay, so let me go over to the IntelliJ, and here I'll create a new project. We have already seen in our previous session how we can create a Maven project using IntelliJ. So the same thing we will use. So I will select a Maven project and then I will click on next, and here I'll basically give the name. Let me change the path here, and then let me go to my user folder, and probably here I will create a new folder maybe, and I will say Selenium Selenium practice or else Selenium practice. Okay, and then I will say create. Now this one I will open it. Now you can see, now here few of the things which we discussed already. Group ID is basically a Maven's group ID. It normally consists of your organization name, and then this is the actual project where we will be writing our Selenium test. Okay, now let me click on finish, and now this creates a new project for us. Okay, now because it is a new project, let me quickly add the pom.xml, the dependencies, because we are going to use the Selenium Java dependencies, right? So let me quickly find Selenium Java Maven dependency, and then let me click on this one. So this is where all the what do you call, Java related libraries are present. Let me copy this Maven dependency, and then I will create a new element here or a new tag, and then this should be my dependencies. So oops, it should be all small letters. Okay, paste it, which I got it, and then there has to be a closing tag as well. Okay, so let me just go here, and it's a closing tag. Fine. Okay. So as I got Selenium Java, I need to install this one. Okay. So what I will do, on your right side of your IntelliJ, there will be a Maven pan actually. You expand this one. There would be life cycles actually. Don't worry about this. We will see in detail in later point of time. At this moment, I will just click on this thunder to make our test as off, and then I will click on install. What this does, whatever the dependencies we have added into the pom.xml, that will install, or it will download all the dependencies from the Maven repository. Dependencies in this sense, it will download all the library jar files, which will help us to write our Selenium script. Okay, so let's wait and see it downloads all of the Java libraries. Okay, as we have seen, like it finished all the process, and what I can do, right click on this project and then go to the Maven, and here you will get an option as reload project. Now what this does, sometimes your jar files which you downloaded might not be reflecting properly into this project. For that, you can just click on this reload project. Okay, now it is done. And how do you verify whether all the Maven projects has imported properly? You can see here it is saying importing and scanning files for index, and once it will finish, we will see the external libraries would have been updated properly. Now if I go here, you can see organization Selenium HQ, and then the beta 3 is already updated. Fine. So now we are sure that the Selenium is available for us. I'll go to the source test, and here I'll create a new package probably, and here I will say maybe I will say locators. Okay, and inside this I will create a new class, and I will say locators sample. Okay, and it's a normal class only here, and I will create a main method here, public static void main, and then string args. Okay, inside this I will be writing my code. So for this, the first thing is that the system dot set properties, and here I will put this key as webdriver dot chrome dot driver. So where I will be downloading the Chrome driver and put it in this. We have already seen this one. Now the Chrome driver is, let me grab the Chrome driver path from my local folder, and under this, and this is the path. Right click on this and click on option and copy as path name. Now here I'll paste it. Fine, that's it. Now the next line of code is webdriver driver, and driver equal to new Chrome driver, and then driver dot, if get means it will load the URL that I'm going to test it. Now what is the URL? So if I go to here, this will be the URL I will be using. Okay, fine. Now in this application, we will use different what do you call ways. Let me just import this WebDriver. Now first we will see what and all the methods are available to identify an element. So driver dot find element is the method actually which we will be using. Now when you put by dot, it will give you all the options Okay, as you can see, it is giving you an id. So these are all attributes actually. Id means any of the id attribute is present, then you can utilize that. You can even use by dot class name, by dot link text. Let's say you have a link, so there is a text it is displaying on your browser screen, so you can use that text to use it. There is a partial link text, I will show you that. You can see partial link text. So let's say welcome to this, that is a link, so you can use it even by using the welcome, a part of that particular text, so that Selenium can identify that link and it will perform click event on that. The same thing if there is a name attribute, there is id attribute, css selector and xpath. This is again like you can customize by using this tag name and your attributes. You can use the combination of this both and build a xpath patterns. So these are basically the patterns actually, xpath and css selector. It has its own syntaxes. We will discuss these things, everything in more details, and I will show you as well what are the browser extensions are also present to make your life easy. Okay, now tag name, we know there is a tag name for each browser element. I have shown already in the html. You can take the name of the tag name and you can perform any action on that. Okay, so these are all the available, what do you call, the buy locators. We can say locator strategy or buy locators. Now we will see each one of them very quickly to see how it is helping us to identify the elements. So for this I am taking this particular application. Okay, and here let me just right click on this and click on inspect. Okay, so as you can see here, so this is something an input looks like, and here I was talking, this is the id attribute, this is the class attribute, this is the name attribute. So we can use driver dot find element by id, by class, or by name. Okay, like this we can use it. So let me do one thing. So by dot id, and then here I can put, so this is by.id is username, right? Username. Now this is a input, right? So I can do send keys. So send keys, and then here I can just say that qavbox, some name I can print it. Fine. Now see, I can use even by using the input tag also. Like I can even do like this. Let me show you that. So I can say by tag name. Okay, and here I can give input dot send case. But the problem is that here with the tag name input I have so many elements, like you can see one, and then there is another input tag, so I cannot use this. That's why the attributes are most important part to uniquely identify the elements. So that's how by id I can give, or the same thing I can even say by name. Let me add another one, maybe email, and let's see. So email has id email, right? So what I will do here, so this one I will take as id is email, and let me find out here name equal to uname is there, right? So here I will put name, and this one I will make it as uname. Now here inside this send keys I will say qabbox at the rate gmail.com, some name I'm putting. So like this I can use the id and name. Like this even I can use the class name as well. So by dot class name, you can see class name is coming. Now here I need to put the exactly class name, like here you can see enter text. But whenever you are using the class name, always make sure that the class name is unique actually on that. So I can use selectors hub actually for this, and we can use it. Now what you can do, selectorshub.com, you can go and you can install the selectors hub browser extension. I have already a video from the creator itself. So he actually came to our channel and he kind of discussed about the features, and now he enhanced a lot into this. You can go to his youtube channel as well, selectors hub youtube channel. You can see all of the updates and how we can use it. So most of my time I am basically using this selectors hub, and then identifying different elements actually. So like here if you see this the class name, if I put has, and then I will say class use class is enter text, right? So I will say enter text. Now if I enter it, you will see I think class name is used as a dot, and I will put, you can see there is only one element found. It means that by using this class name I can identify the element uniquely. So what I can do here, I can even use like this class name, and then here I can put this enter text. Even I can do like this. Now here I can put id for telephone. Let's see, for telephone it is tel. So here I can say by id tel, and here I can put some number here. So like that you can what do you call, you can enter text. The same thing, like let's say that if you have a button is input tag, right? Now these what you call, the ids or the by locators whatever we are using, this is not specific to any specific type of element. You can use it, you can use this by id, class name, by name, all these things you can use it in buttons, in text boxes, in drop downs, anywhere you can use this driver dot find element. Okay, even button, like if I inspect this, you can see there is a name is home is there, right? So what I can do, I can even write like this, it's a button, so by it is name is home, right? So by name, and then I will just say home, but I cannot send keys, right? I have to do click event. Okay, and no parameters inside this, so it will click on the home button. Let me show you these things. So thread dot sleep, so thread dot sleep is basically a wait in java actually. So what this does, it will pause your execution for certain amount of time, the time that you're specifying here, and this is in milliseconds. The same thing I will make it here so that you can see the click event as well. And then to close the browser, the Selenium provides an option like to driver.quit or close. You can use it. Now these are the ways you can use the locator strategies. At this moment, let's see these three types. One is id, class name, and name, whether it is working fine or not. So to run this, I will just right click, because it is a main method. I can run like this. So you can see the browser and all of the details entered properly, and then it clicked on the home button, waited for 2 seconds and closed the browser. See, it is like that you can use it. Now let's see some other types as well. Now if you see here, there are links actually here. There is a tutorials link. If I mouse over this one, inspect, you will get the tutorials whose text is the tutorials, right? So what I can do, let me do one thing. Let me comment all these things. To do a multi-line comment in Java, I can do like this, a hash sorry, a slash with a star sign. And to have single line comment, I can just put double slash. Even this one at this moment, let me put like this, or maybe let's wait for 2 seconds and then use the link text, driver dot find element by dot link text. Now link text is specific to your link only. Now how do I identify it is a link or not? You can see the tag name is a, like how we were getting input, right, for buttons, for text boxes, for links you will get a tag actually. So whatever the text, now what is the text? Text means it is whatever the text it is displaying here. So here what I can do, I can do like this, tutorials exclamatory, it has to be exactly same, it should be matching with the what you call your case sensitive as well. So tutorials exclamatory mark, I'm doing this. If it is partial link text, like let's say if I'm using another locator which is partial link text is there, right? Now here what I can do, I can type only tutor, so like this also I can do. So now what this partial link text will do, it will whatever text I'm mentioning here, the parameter, it will go and search this entire page whose a text is matching with this particular text. If it is matching, it will print, it will click on that. So link, normally what we do manually, we will click on that link, right? So that's what this particular lines of code will do. For this I cannot click twice, right? Because as I click it, it will navigate to another page. That's how the application is designed. So I will first execute this link text, right click and run. And, 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 Now it will wait and see. It is clicking on that link, and whatever the link it was there, it clicked on that link and it quit the browser actually there. So that's how I can we can do. Even you can uncomment this one and then comment, so that the passive link text also will match this text. If it is matching, it will click on that. Okay, so these are basically the uniquely you can identify the elements. There are two more types are there. One is your CSS selector and your what do you call the XPath actually. So now these are not as straight as what you are doing. There are some flexibility. You can customize. You can build your own XPaths. There are certain syntaxes are there. Let me just show you one each example of CSS and XPath actually. Like for an instance, let's say that I want to identify this particular element input tag. Definitely we know actually if I can use ID, class or name any one of this attribute. But even I can build this by using an XPath as well. So for this what I will do, I will go to this selectors hub. Okay, and here you can see XPath and CSS selector. You can just search actually here. So what I can do, the syntax for XPath is double slash, this is your beginning, and then what you need to do, you need to put the tag name actually, whatever the tag name. The tag name for this text box is input, right? Then you have to put a square brackets, close and beginning. Now all the attributes will be always noted as at the rate ID equal to, and here I will put the value of that attribute. What is the value of that attribute? Username. Okay, now if I enter it, you can see it is matching this one. Now the same thing if I want to take the name attribute. Okay, at the rate name, but what is the name here? Uname, right? So I will put uname and enter. Now you can see it is matching one. Now this one I can take it as a XPath, and I will say driver dot find element by dot XPath. Now here I will paste that particular what do you call syntax. Now dot send key is right because I'm entering some text. Now here inside this I will print something. Let's see if this works or not. You can see it printed there by using the XPath and it closed the browser. Now the same thing I can build by using a CSS selector also. Okay, so here now for this I will make it as a CSS selector. You can see it is identifying, but this will be a invalid syntax. For CSS selector the difference is that any tag you are using, it should be as it is only. You should not put a double slash, and then any attributes that you are using, there won't be any at the rate actually, and it will be simple input, that is my tag name, and then the attribute name and the attribute value. Rest everything will remain same. See, this part is completely to identify the element. This part is basically whatever the action you are performing. If it is a button, you can click it. Now let's quickly run this particular code and see if the CSS selector identifies properly or not. You can see it printed the value and then it closes the browser. Even this one also I can identify by using this selectors hub. Like for an instance I can do like this, and you can see it is working also. And these are not just limited to this, because you might be having a question that I can use by the by dot name attribute, then why do I need to build this entirely and do this? Now there are a lot of usages of XPath and CSS selector. Let's say that if you don't have any of these what do you call attributes are there, then how do you use it? For an instance, you don't have ID, you don't have class, you don't have name, just the input tag is there. How do I identify that? There is no other way, right? So what you can do, you can hold the parent. If this is unique, from parent you can come to the child and you can identify those things like based on a reference. So your parent element is having some unique identification. From there you can come down to this input. So like that you can write multiple expressions as well here. So that is what a biggest benefit of using XPath and CSS selector. Okay, so these things we will see in a specialized session where the usages of XPath and CSS selector. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for like the locator strategies. Yes, one thing actually that is debatable always, like which one you should use. Let's say that you have elements are there in your browser and everywhere actually IDs are there. Now there is a question, all of these different types of locator strategies, which one we should use? Now there is not like a what do you call a I mean mandatory that you need to use ID only, because sometimes ID won't be there. So there is nothing like you should be using name. Okay, it depends on how flexible you are with your application, or the application is built, then you can use it. So there is a saying is that id you should use first of all you should see the id, and this is because of it is always unique across your web browser. Like if you have, like let's say, multiple elements are there as we have seen here, so there are multiple input tags are there, right? You can see the ids are unique, but sometimes maybe in your application the ids are not unique. Okay, there is no id itself. Now you can't use it this one, right? So this is not mandatory, or as a what do you call mandatory that first you need to search. Id is recommended as a first option. If not, you can use the name. Okay, name. Now name or class name, this is actually again a debatable. And name and class name, it has been seen that it can change during at the runtime or during your development phase. Actually, class names normally they change. It is basically the code actually in the class name, whatever they are using, that name is coming here, so it is not recommended. Even you would have seen few of the applications, you will see some space and here some value will be there. So that is again kind of difficult to use these class names, because it is bigger values, and you can there is a chance of what do you call you can miss some words also while copy pasting. So that's why name or class name, if it is unique, please use that. Then link text, I mean we can't make it as order, because these are very specific to your what do you call links only. So whenever there is a link, try to use any one of these specific to this, so there is no order which is coming compared to this above what do you call strategies. Now XPath and CSS selector, there is again many people are saying that we have to use XPath, we have to use the CSS selector. I'll give you different ways. Now you decide which is appropriate for you. CSS selector is the way which the browser itself uses. So browser uses CSS selector way actually to identify its own elements. So it is normally it is faster actually to if you are identifying the CSS selector. Now there are certain things you can't do with the CSS selector, or you might find CSS selector as a difficult to what you call write the syntaxes. That time you can use the XPath actually. There is another use case where it is suggested to always use any one of these options, even though you have these elements, these attributes are present. Like for an instance, what happens in real time, if you are going into your organization, you might not be having an ID actually. They might use some custom IDs. Like let's say if I am working for Google, now Google might have like this Google hyphen ID, or if Google hyphen data hyphen ID, like this they will give. Now what they will do, these kind of what do you call attributes, they will use it throughout their application. Okay, so that the developer will make sure to add this attribute and then some value, some unique value, not just value. Now that time none of these things will work actually for you, because let's say I'll show you that. Let's say you have a input tag. Okay, input tag like this, and type equal to text. Okay, and here there is a in end tag, and here it is like this data id equal to, let's say that username, like this is there. Now in this case actually we cannot use any one of these. no ID, no name, no link text, nothing is there. You have to use either XPath or CSS selector only. Let me show you that. So I'm making it on runtime. I'm making it as changing here. Let's say for this ID. Now for this ID, let's say I'm doing data ID. Now in this case, oh, okay, it's not. Yeah, you can see data ID. Now in this case, I cannot use this as like this. ID is email. Okay, this will not give me any of the, you can see it is even, it is saying that it is not a valid scenario. Okay, let me create an XPath. Actually, you can see zero element matching because there is no ID here, so I have to use data ID only. So here I can use data ID. Now you can see it is identifying. This is my XPath syntax. Let's say that I want to use the CSS selector. Yes, you can use it as well. You can see it is even identifying this way. So that is why I have given you all the situations. Now it is up to you or your organization or your team, how will you identify the elements. And basically it has seen that XPath and CSS selector we use a lot. With my personal preference is to use the CSS selector always. If you're finding difficulties, then you go with XPath. Okay, so that is pretty much about your HTML DOM, how HTML looks like, and how Selenium identifies by providing different methods and the preferences of using the element locators. Okay. Fine. So, hope this session helps. Thank you guys, and do subscribe to this YouTube channel and stay tuned for all other topics on the Selenium and Java. Thank you.